This is Chapter 3, Part 2. Here we're moving on to talk about perception in interpersonal communication. Perceptions of the world around us come through our senses. Sight, hearing, smell, taste, those senses. Touch as well. Whenever it comes to interpersonal communication, it doesn't really change much. Perception comes through those senses. And whatever we perceive influences our communication behaviors, our choices. We have a concept called selective perception. Now, selective perception is an interesting concept. Perhaps you've been accused of selective hearing. Well, that's a similar concept. It's the idea that we pay attention to certain things and we ignore others. Selective perception is made up of two parts. You have selective attention, where you attend to those things that you anticipate will fulfill your needs or prove enjoyable. And then you have selective exposure, where you expose yourself to people or messages that confirm your existing beliefs, contribute to your objectives, or prove satisfying in some way. So we pick and choose what we listen to, we pick and choose whom we interact with. These are all parts of selective perception. So this is the first of 5 different steps. It's called stimulation, where we pick and choose our messages. Stage 2 is organization. Whenever we assume that knowledge, whenever we receive that stimulation, then we process the information. We follow rules, schemata, or scripts, as we see here. We file away the information in a specific way. Whenever it comes to rules, we have 3 kinds of rules that we use. Rules of proximity. When we see something or a group of people together, we group them together. So, because 2 people are hanging out together, they must belong together. This is not always true, and you'll find that for most of these things, but it's the assumptions that our brains make. Then you have the rule of similarity. Because 2 things look alike, they must belong together. Again, it's not always accurate, but at times we make that connection. The rule of contrast is exactly the opposite of similarity. If we see 2 things that are together that don't seem to belong together, we will disassociate them from each other and assume something is off. And you have the idea of schemata. A schema is just kind of a mental template. It's an expectation based on previous experiences. Growing up, my family had 1 dog, and it was my entire experience concerning dogs was that 1 dog. And so whenever I got married, my wife had another dog, and I just expected that all dogs kind of behave the same way with their owners, and I learned that that's not the case. I was wrong. My schema didn't fit. But still, I find myself comparing all other dogs that I come into contact with when they're around their owners back to my dog that I had whenever I was a child. Because I had that schema already in place, those are the assumptions that I'm going to make. It's how I'm going to organize new information. And then you have scripts. Scripts are similar to schemata, but these are more about how events should unfold. The example from the textbook was whenever you go to a restaurant to sit down and eat, there's a certain pattern that you expect to follow. You expect to walk in the doors, to have a host take you back to seat you, and then they come and ask you what you want to drink. They give you menus. There's a certain pattern that we follow, and whenever things fall outside of that pattern, we notice them either positively or negatively. Stage 3 has two words here, interpretation and evaluation. These happen at the same time. So we receive that stimulation, we organize the information, and now, once we've done that, we interpret what we've received. We compare it to our expectation of the way things should be. And of course, there are a lot of variations. And so it's not always going to turn out the way we think it should be, or the things that reflect on our experience. As you can see here on the slide, it says judgments can be ethnocentric. If you're interacting with someone from a different culture, don't expect them to follow your schemata. Don't expect them to follow your scripts, because their cultural expectation may be different than your own. This is what causes a lot of confusion whenever you travel abroad or you have people visiting you from another country. Expected norms may be different. Stage 4 is memory. So the way you remember an event and how it unfolded will be impacted by your schemata, the way that you anticipated the people in that situation to behave. Whether or not your memory is accurate is a different thing. So when we meet people, we make assumptions about them based on what we already know about their quote-unquote type. It's based on our schemata. Even if we learn that something is different than what we expected, we're still more likely to remember just our schemata. So information can easily be distorted through memory. Stage 5 is recall. Later on, when we're going back, trying to remember what happened, we don't reproduce memory. We can't tell things exactly the way they were. We reconstruct memories. We dig it out of storage inside of a box in our brain, and we put it back together. So, as I said a while ago, we may or may not remember things the right way because whenever it happened in reality, it may or may not have lived up to our expectations. And so we may rewrite that history when we recall.